911 call for heart attack or whatever, you would think that they'd want to jump right in and send the closest people, which are the AED teams in the neighborhoods. But it doesn't work very well, and that's a problem we're working on here, trying to get that resolved. But you know,
Well, I
Scott,
hope the
we
very
use
best.
GMRS radios, Cobra in
okay,
particular, and some of the Midlands. So what we do, we have a command center, which we would set up in the social hall. Right now, the command center is going to be my car because we're having some renovations done. But I've done that before on the car, and with the antenna, it does work well. Now, there's something that's kind of a backup. These are called rapid radios. You may have heard them advertised. It's kind of like the emergency services that the state of Florida. If you hit one tower of the 75 towers, you've got ham radio operation within that emergency network throughout the state. This works very similar. It works off towers and Starlink, I think. So anyway, I can talk. I mainly got these for my wife and myself in case of emergency, but we do have 4 of these. We use it as a backup, like Brian, myself, and then our ham operator. So if something fails on these radios, we can get a hold of them. And I
right.
guess, Brian, you just discussed a little bit about the texting.
We didn't really touch on that, Larry.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, well, I think it's time for us to go ahead and launch into what we're really here for. I just want to take a moment to say thank you so very much to Len and John for doing this presentation. Some fun-filled facts you might not know about lightning, and that's why we're here. And I wish we had a bigger audience. But again, this will go on our YouTube channel. Just a couple fun-filled facts. The temperature of a lightning strike is 50,000 degrees, 5030 more zeros, 50,000. That's 5 times hotter than the surface of the sun. It can carry 100 plus million volts. I did see some report that said it can be between 100 million and 1 billion with a B degrees, or I'm sorry, volts, with 30,000 amps. Now you're on your home service, your electric coming into your house is probably somewhere between 100 to 200 amp service. This is 30,000 amps. So a tremendous amount of energy, tremendous amount of heat. And thankfully, there is some way to kind of maybe alleviate your house being victim or all of your electronics being victim. So again, John and Len, thank you very much. Scott is also part of the team there. Scott Jones up in the top right-hand corner of my screen. I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Len and John and Scott. Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay, thank you for inviting us, and we'll start off by putting the first slide up. This began in 2006 when there was 2 homes that burned down within 37 days here, and there was a lot of bad information going around about lightning. And at the time, we formed a group. There's about 10 of us, including people like me that have been involved in fire protection, people like electrical engineers, mechanical engineers. We had 2 meteorologists, a victim of lightning, and a couple of others. So our goal was to fill an unmet need for lightning education. And we've been doing this since 2009, and this is the 197th we've done. This is the second one we've done on Zoom. This one is not working. Yeah, click on it. We're good, right? Yeah. Okay. And let me make sure you understand that we have no revenue stream from anything we're going to be talking about here. We'll be talking about various services and equipment, but we have no revenue stream for that. We also say, let us go through the whole presentation and then we'll do the questions at the end. So we can't prevent lightning from occurring. There's nothing we can do to stop it. But we want it to enter and leave the earth without doing any damage. There's 4 of us on what we call the study group on lightning. I'm Len Hathaway, as you've heard, and my job was involved mainly with the electric utilities, nuclear, fossil fuel, and the like, dealing with their architects and engineers on fire protection systems and equipment and the like. Scott Jones is a retired firefighter, 40 years, 30 years as chief, and he's been here for 4 years. John here with me is an electrical engineer. As you see, graduated from George Washington University and 30-year career with Verizon and a 4-year resident. Not with us today, I haven't heard him check in, as our meteorologist, John Shushak. And he is the founder of the village's weather club, and he gives presentations every month on various weather topics. So we're going to discuss today these things you see on the screen: personal lightning safety, indirect lightning strikes, so John will discuss direct lightning strikes, and then we'll talk about gas pipe when we get to that. And along the way, we're going to debunk various myths about lightning. We do this to make you an informed consumer and to combat the myths and misunderstandings about it, lightning. And we have 2 primary resources. And I'm holding up one here. You'll see more of this later. This is a book written by Dr. Martin Newman from the University of Florida, who's been studying lightning for over 40 years. The other document is the National Standard on Lightning, published by the National Fire Protection Association. And that was first printed in 1904 and has been updated 30 times since. So these are some of the things they say about lightning, and we'll deal with these as we go. There's a couple up here that are not on here, one of which is lightning never strikes in the same place twice. But we've had cases here in the villages where at least 3 or 4 that I know of that have been struck more than once. Also not up here is Lee Trevino's famous statement about all you have to do is hold up a 1-iron and even God can't hit a 1-iron. Lee Trevino, during his pro career, was struck by lightning 3 times and survived. Twice at the Western Open in Oak Brook, 4 years, Oak Brook, Illinois, 4 years apart. Lightning can be all these things, but what you see on the screen, remember the most important one is unpredictable. You just can't outguess what it's going to do. And we can claim that it's changed history because when Martin Luther was caught in a frightening lightning storm, when he was going to become an attorney in Germany in 1505, he said, "Help St. Anne, I'll become a monk." And of course he did, and that changed history. That's when the Reformation started. Here you see some old technology from the National Weather Service that's out of date, but it gives a picture of what goes on. As you see, we're on a peninsula where the unstable air drifts up over the land and it's pushed by the sea breezes from both coasts. So we get it from both sides. And those figures are the average number of thunderstorm days per year. And where I'm from, there's less than 20 per year. But you're down here in the Florida Peninsula, And you see that 100 around Tampa Bay, and that's why the Tampa Bay Hockey League franchise is named the Lightning. Here you see the number of strikes per square mile. And in 2022, the National Lightning Detection Network showed that Lake County had almost 50 strikes per square mile, which is the seventh in the nation. And Sumter County, where most of us are, we were 14th. Here in the villages, we keep track of the number of days with lightning. And last year we had 95, but it's not just the number, it's where they are and what the strength of them are. You were giving figures, Larry, Brian, of how strong a lightning strike can be. And even though we've had days with years with 124, last year with only 95, we had 6 homes here burned down due to lightning. This year we've had 38 days with lightning to date, and we've had 1 home destroyed by lightning. We're the lightning capital of the country, but not the world. That goes to those countries along the equator, like Indonesia, with 200 thunderstorm days per year. Okay, the National Weather Service began keeping track of lightning during World War II. And one year, it was as many as 432 people killed by lightning. And you can see the good news is how it's dropped over the years. Last year, we only had 12. However, 5 were in Florida. And you ladies know when to come in out of the rain, as you see male versus female being victims of lightning. This map is 1 year out of date. The 88 fatalities in Florida over 18 years, for 19 years is now 93 with one we've had this year. Texas is up to 91 and Colorado 25. So you can see we're definitely the lightning capital of the nation. Elsewhere in the world, it's hard to believe, but these are from published figures that this many people are killed by lightning. And as you see, the factors that impact that, and there are educational campaigns going on with the Europeans and the Americans helping out some of those countries to be more aware of lightning and what they can do about it. If you're struck by lightning, all of these bad things can happen to you, and the recovery can be days, weeks, years, or never. If somebody is struck by lightning, the body doesn't retain electrical charge, so it's safe to do what we were talking about earlier, start calling first 911 and starting CPR, and if you have AEDs in the area, to get the nearest AED until first responders arrive. We had that case happen here in the villages in 2017, where a 12-year-old was struck by lightning. He survived thanks to the quick work of the tournament director and the village's fire department. But the thing is, there was no rain at the polo fields at the time, but 2 miles away, there was rain and lightning. So lightning can be very unpredictable. Here in the villages, this is our good golf guide, and the villages says you proceed at your own risk. Unfortunately, too many people do. This is Retief Goosen, who, when he was a 16-year-old, he was struck by lightning in his native South Africa, and his, as you can see, his clothing was burned off. His tongue went down his throat. He stopped breathing. His clubs melted to his wrist. His clubs melted. His watch melted to his wrist. He spent 6 days in the hospital. Had no memory of this happening. He was saved by a doctor on a nearby course that started CPR. Fortunately, he recovered and he had a good career. This is the number of lightning fatalities that have occurred in the country. We've had one this year in Texas, a father and son playing golf. The son was killed. The father, the last we heard, was in critical condition. We haven't had one here in Florida since 2021, fortunately. Okay, this is the first myth we'll discuss. Rubber-soled shoes will do nothing for you if you're struck by lightning. The lightning will go right through your body, right through it. And another one is you're safe in a vehicle with rubber tires. The rubber tires have nothing to do with it. It's the all-metal body of a sedan that protects you. And this was demonstrated in the 30s at Westinghouse, where they created lightning, and you can see lightning hitting the top of the vehicle. And if you look at the front left tire, you can see lightning going off to ground. So the National Weather Service says when thunder roars, go indoors. I used to say you count the seconds from the flash to the bang. That went out in 2009. And recently I saw a release from somebody in Lake County that was still advocating counting the seconds. But as I say, that went out in 2009. The second part of that, you wait for 30 minutes for the lightning to pass. So once you go indoors, you're still subject to lightning because you need to stay away from plumbing, electrical, and windows. We've had people injured here in the villages in their own homes when their houses were struck by lightning, and fortunately, we have not had a fatality. Another myth is lightning never strikes in the same place twice, and as I indicated earlier, we've seen it here several times. A couple of the churches a couple of years ago were hit twice. So now we're going to talk about you as a homeowner. You have two concerns. We break it down that way. One is an indirect strike, and the other is a direct strike. So John's going to talk about what you do about an indirect strike that can damage your electronic equipment.
All right. So indirect lightning strikes is basically when lightning doesn't hit your house, but hits nearby. So it could be in your backyard, it could be in the front of your house, side of your house, whatever. It's more frequent, but less severe. And when lightning hits the ground, it doesn't just hit one spot. It actually branches off into many branches, as shown in this slide here, which is why when lightning hits in your backyard, for instance, your house can get an induced surge, or a neighbor, or people behind you or in front of you. So what is a power surge? Well, when lightning strikes the ground, it's going to generate what we call a power surge that travels through the air and couples onto some electrical system in your house. And it's really a voltage spike or transient that occurs in your wiring. It can be caused by it can come in through your utility power lines, and it can reach thousands of volts and amperes, as was spoke about earlier. If it couples onto your pool equipment or your air conditioning electrical, it could lead to all kinds of, you look at the slide on the bottom there, you could see how you get a spike from the power line, how high it is, and can damage the sensitive devices in your house. But even without lightning, when you get power surges all the time when your washer dryer or any highly reactive loads comes on and off. And those are the smallest spikes that occur all the time. So what do you do about a situation like this? You buy what we call surge protection device. And these devices are intended to either block or mitigate or manage the voltage spikes on your electrical system. They have a limited lifespan depending on how many and how large the surges are that they're exposed to. And they usually have a light indicating that it's working. But the bottom line is surge protection is a layered system. You just don't have one type. There are several types. And what you need to remember is surge protectors will protect your electrical system, but not protect your house from a direct lightning strike. So when we talk about a layered system, we have type 1, which is a surge protector that can be purchased or rented from your power utility, either Seco or Duke Energy, and that goes right on your meter. And again, that protects surges that come primarily from the power utility itself. And then we have type 2, which is installed by an electrician, which is installed at your circuit breaker panel. The reason why this is important is because the circuit breaker panel is a central location in your house where if a surge is induced, like say at the pool equipment or at your HVAC equipment, eventually it all has to come back to the circuit breaker panel, and these devices will block the surge or reduce it before it reaches, bridges onto the rest of the circuits in your house. And type 3 surge protection, which is what we call secondary surge protection, is stuff that has surge protectors that you install like at your computer, the power strip, or you have a plug-in cube, or you may have a wall outlet. Some people have uninterruptible power supplies, which have surge protectors in it. But these are devices, this is like the last resort. It's at the end of the line. So if you get a surge coming in and it hits in your backyard, lightning hits in the backyard, it's very high voltage, very high amperage, it gets induced onto the pool equipment. The surge protector, the type 2 surge protector in the garage will knock that down and reduce it if it can't block it, to the point where these surge protectors will be able to stop surge from damaging your delicate, sensitive equipment, such as your computers and TVs. And the thing on the lower left-hand side is the cable. There's a large percentage of surges that come in through the cable system. And these are devices where you put in line where the cable reaches, comes into your house to try and manage or block the surge if it comes in through the cable system. If you have fiber optic internet, then you don't have to worry about this. But if you have copper type cable, then you do. And then again, you can add secondary surge protection, as I mentioned before, at the disconnect at your HVAC equipment, or at the disconnect at your pool and spa equipment. Also, in the 2020 National Electrical Code, it was changed to require all new and renovated homes to provide some sort of type 1 or type 2 surge protection devices. So if you have a brand new home that you're building, chances are that you'll have some sort of surge protection installed when the house is built. A lot of times, though, this is minimal surge protection. So you can always go to your local electrician and have an enhanced surge protector put at your circuit breaker panel, for instance, to improve the surge protection in your house over what comes with the builder. Now, I'm not sure if this is going to work or not, but before we do it, let me just explain what's happening here. So you're going to see like a fan that's installed into a surge protector cube, excuse me, in the wall. And this device here generates a very, very large surge that could be induced from a lightning strike. And the sole purpose of this demo is to show what happens when you don't have any type 1 or type 2 surge protection and just have type 3, which is like edge sensitive devices. So I have to go a little start it up. Yeah, just click it. There it goes. So as you see, without the surge being reduced at the circuit breaker panel or at the meter, your type 3 protector takes all of the surge, and it will explode or can explode, and you can see sparks and flames coming out of it. That's why you have to have this layered approach when it comes to surge protection to avoid situations like this. Go to the next one. And the question is, should you get surge protection? Well, for under $1,000, you can get all 3 types of surge protection installed in your house. But you need to consider the value of your appliances, electronic equipment. You need to consider the hassle factor of replacing your equipment. Now, what I mean by that is if you get a power surge, your homeowner's insurance will cover you. But again, you have to start fighting with them and deal with potentially having your rates increased. So the idea, and then a lot of times what happens, you get a surge and it maybe damages, I don't know, the microwave, but a couple of months later you find that your refrigerator went bad because of the surge. But now the homeowner's case is closed and you can't do anything about it. So the bottom line is it's better to be proactive and try and prevent surges from damaging your electrical systems in your house than trying to be reactive after. And then again, you also, as I said, we talked about the deductible. Regardless, if you have to deal with the insurance company, you still have to pay the deductible. And just remember, lightning loves technology. And back to Len about direct lightning strikes.
Okay, now we're going to talk about the less frequent but high severity case of a direct lightning strike. And you need to be thinking about what is your tolerance for risk, and only you can decide that. This is a house that was destroyed here in the Villages a few years ago. And in the garage, you see the remnants of a vehicle, which is a 1957 Chevrolet Bel Air with 31,000 original miles on it. And it was only being temporarily stored there for a friend who was having work done in his garage. Murphy's Law at its finest. Well, you may remember from your physics or science classes that about lightning simply wants to seek the least resistance path to ground. And it can cause fire and explosions in non-conducting materials such as the roof deck on your home. And a lightning protection system we'll be discussing shortly just gives it a safe path to ground. And this is, of course, what Ben Franklin pioneered in 1752. And the first lightning systems went up in Philadelphia in the summer of 1752. And because lightning was such a problem for the colonists as well as the Europeans, he was given honorary degrees by Harvard and Yale. So who uses lightning protection systems? Well, you see up here different categories of businesses rely on it. Certainly the electric utilities have to pay a lot of attention to it. Otherwise you lose your power all the time during a lightning storm. And the same goes for radio, TV, FAA, of course, NASA we'll talk about shortly. Military, they have a lot of stuff that will detonate. So they have to pay a lot of attention to it. And you'll notice that the theme parks around Orlando all are protected. Here in the Villages, there's quite a bit, and we'll show some of that. And of course, we have many homes, and of course, airports have lightning protection everywhere. If you'll notice when next time you're down at Orlando Airport. I don't know how many of you have been to Sumter Landing, but this is the pavilion where the performers perform every night from 5 to 9. That's protected, as is the bar huts and the restrooms. In fact, every building at Sumter Landing, for those of you who've been to Sumter Landing, have lightning protection except for one. This is one of our fire stations that has lightning protection, and also our new fire headquarters also has protection. If you've been to Spanish Springs, there's only 4 buildings there that have it: the sales center, the hotel, the Sharon Performing Arts Center, and what used to be the radio station. Here's another example of lightning protection. You probably see this go. This is Duke's High Line that goes through the Villages, and I probably near your community too. And the arrows are pointing to the 2 static lines at the top of the tower, which is the lightning system to protect the current carrying cables below. Over at the Cape, both NASA and the Air Force in days gone by had unsatisfactory experience with lightning. And now they've put a lot of effort into it. And you see those 4 600-foot towers and the wire strung to it. That's the lightning protection system that protects the vehicle on the launch pad. This is Venice, as some of you probably recall. And that tower there, the bell tower in front of St. Mark's, was struck and destroyed by lightning 9 times from 1388 to the late 1700s. In 1776, it was equipped with the Franklin lightning rod, and I haven't had any problems since. And this is another church in Italy that was storing 200,000 pounds of gunpowder in the church. When it was struck by lightning, it destroyed 1/6 of the city and killed 3,000 people, which is the largest loss of life due to lightning that's ever been recorded. And if we see we're in Italy, go over to the Vatican, and the arrow pointing up is where the Pope greets the parishioners, and the 2 arrows pointing down is the lightning protection system, so that even the Pope is protected by a lightning system from acts of God. Coming closer to home, this is the University of Florida's Research Center up at Camp Blanding, about 100 or so miles up 301. And they did one series of tests there about 20 years ago where they fired rockets up into the thunder clouds. And the rockets stand about 4 feet high. And when they're going up, they unspool a very thin copper wire back down to whatever they're testing on the ground. This is a 6-second time-lapse photograph of the wire has now been compromised, but it creates a path for the lightning to go down to whatever they're testing on the ground. In one series of tests, they brought it down to the lightning system on the test house on the premises, and there was no damage to the house because it had a properly designed lightning system. In the lower left, we're being briefed by one of the professors, and the spaghetti wire there is all the data they collect. In the upper right-hand corner, they have high-speed cameras because the eye can't see lightning, which actually comes up from the ground. The cameras are 50,000 frames per second. This is a typical house with a lightning system. John is going to hold up a lightning rod. You can see he's holding up. That's an air terminal, and off of the air terminal is a 45-degree zone of protection. So the systems are set up, installed to overlap on anything like a hot water heater or a furnace, vent pipe that also needs a lightning rod. Now, all of those are connected by either a aluminum or, better yet, a copper conductor, which is 28 strands in the case of copper, so it's braided copper. And all of those come off the roof and go to ground rods. The right-hand picture shows where it's coming down off the roof into a trench, and the arrow on the lower right is pointing to the ground rod. At my house, there are 4 ground rods driven, 4 10-foot rods driven 2 feet below grade. John's house, they had to go 30 feet to get a good ground. This is right out of Dr. Martin Ewan's book, just to give you a picture of what happens in a lightning storm. The positive charges go to the top of the cloud, the negative to the bottom, and a step leader starts out of the cloud. Then on the ground, positive charges are being built up. They're being built up on your house, your trees, your vehicles, and you if you're out. In the right-hand panel, now the positive charges have become so strong, they reach up to the down step leader And if there's a lightning protection system, it'll safely discharge the cloud to ground. Here in the villages, since we've been keeping track, we've had 29 homes destroyed. As I mentioned, we've had 1 this year and 6 last year. However, lightning is unpredictable. We've gone 3 years without any. 21 of them had, first off, it should be noted, none of them had a lightning protection system. 21 were concrete blocks, Teco, 8 vinyl frame. No particular reason for that. We just had the second one to occur in May. June is the most popular month, and we've gotten through that with none. July is next with 9, then it steps down August 5, and the like, and then we'll talk about gas pipe coming up a little later. We've also had cases here in the villages where people with a lightning system have come to us and said they believe their home was struck and they had no physical damage. In that case, it receives no media publicity, and there's no wear and tear on fire equipment, and it's coming out to fight a fire. So this again is a national standard on lightning that I mentioned earlier. This is a model standard that's been picked up by the state of Florida that applies to healthcare facilities and educational facilities. And it's advisory for anybody else, such as homeowners. So if the systems are effective if they're designed, installed, and maintained according to the national standard on lightning. However, here's the problem we have in the villages, and I don't know if you have it down there or not, but we have people going around the villages that will put up substandard systems that don't follow the national standard. And they get away with that because there's no state or local certification of installers. There's no licensing, there's no building permits, there's no follow-up inspections. And if you look on the yellow pages that go online, you'll see a lot of people that offer this, but we say it's a buyer beware marketplace. So if you're interested in a lightning system, we advise that you only deal with installers that are listed by Underwriters Laboratories, and their technicians, their installers, have passed 4 closed book proctored exams offered by the Lightning Protection Institute to qualify as master installer. Here are some agencies that some people use to check out vendors in an aftermarket situation. As I mentioned, the yellow pages of the internet are not foolproof. It doesn't necessarily mean they meet that criteria. And strangely enough, the fire department is not a good place to get information on lightning protection. Scott?
Yeah, just a couple common things for everybody to understand. Firefighters, we love them. They're highly skilled, all aspects of emergency situations like life-saving medical assistance, actual fighting of fires, search and rescue if you have an accident, or if you're stuck in a bad situation, they can rescue you. We all have utmost respect, which is great. This weekend we lost 2 firefighters in Idaho, a terrible situation. So we're prepared for a lot of things, but we're not necessarily prepared for what they walked into. And they put their lives on the line, obviously in any emergency. So generally, the public perceives that firefighters would be experts in lightning and lightning protection as well. Unfortunately, the truth is that most fire departments provide their line staff with almost no training on the topic of lightning or lightning protection, like we are discussing here today. And even though you're not located in the village's public safety chief and his 2 deputies are the only ones authorized by the villages to address lightning protection with the public. They prohibit any of the guys on the fire trucks or in the ambulances from talking to the public when they're out on a lightning call, or if someone was to just ask a general question. And unfortunately, this is not just a local problem. As Dr. Human notes in his book, where he states, in high profile departments, chief fire officers should know better. And so when you leave here today from this great Zoom call that Brian and your staff have put together, you'll know more about lightning protection than the average firefighter in the United States. And it's just a shame that it's that way, but it's just a fact of life. And in my 40 years on the job, I was in plenty of lightning storms, plenty of downpouring of rain. And after I moved to the villages and joined the lightning study group, I realized how lucky I was that I was never, affected by lightning in the job. Saw plenty of lightning strikes all around us, you can imagine. And I was just lucky never to have been affected by it, but it can affect anybody at any time. And I keep my fingers crossed that the guys I left behind in the fire department don't ever have to suffer that fate again, because they don't get any education, so they really don't know what to look for or what precautions to take. And we thank you all for allowing us to speak to you today. And I turn it back over to Len.
What Scott said also goes for some electricians and electrical engineers as well. We've also heard another myth that lightning systems don't work, and we contend they do work if they're designed, installed, and maintained according to the national standard on lightning. But anything man-made can fail, and you probably have all had electronics or vehicles that have failed, even medical devices that have failed. We've seen cases where infusion pumps have led to 700 deaths due to faulty software. But all of these things do work a high percentage of the time, including lightning protection systems. Another myth is that our Florida soil is too sandy to get good ground. And that's not your problem. That's why you hire a qualified lightning installer who will drive a number of lightning rods to the proper depth to get a good ground. And don't forget, the utilities in this state have been grounding in these soils for over 100 years. Another myth is my next door neighbor has a lightning system, so my house won't get struck. There's no scientific evidence or experience on that. In fact, this is the house that I showed earlier with the 57 Chevrolet. The house next door and the house across the street had a lightning system that did no good to the house that was struck. Lightning is an unpredictable random event. Another myth is lightning always strikes the tallest object. Here you see a picture of a house with a live oak behind it. The live oak wasn't struck, but the house was destroyed. Another myth is that lightning systems attract lightning. And I have a quote here from Dr. Martin Newman's book that it doesn't increase your chance of being struck by lightning with a lightning system. So should you install a lightning system? Well, you might think about it in two ways. If you have a high tolerance to risk, you do nothing. The odds are certainly with you. We've only had 29 homes struck here in the villages, and we got 150,000 people here living now. And if the worst happens, you depend on your homeowner's insurance to make you whole. Although we have people here in the village, we had a home destroyed last year, and they have not taken the debris out yet because they're having a fight with the insurance company. It'll be a year on the 21st of this month. But if you have a low tolerance for risk, you trade your hard-earned money for all of these things that can happen, as happened to these folks. And one of the things is the stress of the entire ordeal of putting your retired life on hold and dealing with insurance companies and contractors during a 12-month rebuild. What do they cost? It depends upon the size of the home. And these figures we're seeking to update now. These are on the low side now. Prices have gone up, but it'll give you some idea. But it all depends on the roof, including pool cages, to be protected. We mentioned that they are low maintenance because there's no moving parts, And we say that if you re-roof, you've added on, or you've struck, or you observe anything, you call your installer out. We have a lot of re-roofing going on here in the villages at this time. So the installer comes out, takes the system off, and then after the county inspection of the roof, the system goes back on. If you're not doing any of those things, we recommend every three to 5 years to have your installer come back and check the system out. Okay, now we're going to talk about corrugated stainless steel tubing, gas pipe. And we're not sure that if this applies to you folks or not. This is a flexible gas pipe that came in from Japan and 30 years ago. And there was a class action lawsuit about it because it possesses an unreasonable risk of fire due to lightning. And the public hadn't been warned. And I got a voucher in 2006 towards a lightning system that paid for the bulk of my system because I just happened to be at the right place at the right time, I guess you recall. There is no product recall, and this product continues to be used across the country. If you have it, this is what it looks like up in your attic, where you have an incoming gas line going through a manifold with takeoffs to your hot water heater and stove. What Brian has told me that you people have hard pipe, so if that's the case, this doesn't apply to you. But what happens in a lightning system? Lightning is always looking to go from the higher energy to another conductor, and here you see where it put a hole in the CSST gas pipe, and when that happens, that'll ignite because it's hot. We've had cases here in the villages where people have been home when this has happened. They've looked up in their attic, they found flame burning on their gas pipe. They called the fire department. They came in, shut off the gas, saved the house. We've had several houses that have burned down when there's been nobody home, and the fire department was at a great disadvantage when they came to fight the fire because it had a half hour or so pre-burn. What the state fire marshal is, it needs to be bonded and grounded to significantly reduce the risk. We have that bonding here in the villages, but we've also had homes burned down even with it. So I don't think it buys you very much. If you have gas and emergency, and maybe you teach this in your N2N classes to know where to shut off the lightning, shut off the gas in an emergency. It's a quarter turn shut off, and you would call a gas certified plumber to restore it. If you have this type of gas pipe and you're concerned with it, the best thing to do is a lightning protection system. If you have rigid steel pipe, that's good. You don't have the problem I just described, but you still have the chance of the home being struck. Finishing up on the myths, we were told when we did one of these presentations one time that there's something here in the villages, an umbrella over us that protects us all from lightning. And of course, that was not true. They were misinformed. And just maybe God can hit that one iron. So that completes the presentation other than the final exam, which is lightning is dangerous and is highly unpredictable. When thunder roars, go indoors. For electronics, provide both primary and secondary surge protection. And if you're interested in lightning, you should look for contractors that are listed by Underwriters Laboratories and their installers qualified by the Lightning Protection Institute. So now we'd be happy to open it up for questions.
Hey, Ed, do you have a question?
Yes, has to do with the point of service surge protectors. That's a coincidence. This subject came up in a discussion I was having just yesterday. And I remembered Seco representatives come into my home when a TV crapped out, and presumably from a surge, a lightning surge. I pointed out that I was plugged into a surge protector, and they said, "Yeah, but your cable wasn't." And that evidently it was their view that you could even receive this through the cable, and you should therefore have a surge protector that accommodates both the power and the cable. Now they gave me, didn't even charge me for it, a home theater, surge protecting device. And I noticed and I remembered that the brand name is Trip Light.
That's
And
very
I
good.
remember that there was a slide we saw in this presentation that named about, I don't know, 6 to 8 different brands of surge protectors. Just yesterday, again, because of this discussion, I went looking in the garage. I found the box and I looked at the box. Trip Light is the brand, and it says on the box that Trip Light um, guarantees any damages. If you're plugged into this, they're going to reimburse you. So my question to our surge protection guy is, can you confirm this?
Let me, I'll answer it first, then John will answer it. I'm holding up a surge protector, probably like you had, and you have a coax cable coming out. This end of the coax cable should go into the wall, goes into the surge protector, then out of the surge protector into the TV. That's what Seco is telling you you didn't have. The other part of the question.
So anyway, any surge protector that you buy, or either on Amazon or big box stores and stuff, they all have what they call insurance. And which means if you have their device connected and if your surge protector protected and your device gets damaged, they will give you a certain amount of money, but it's secondary insurance. You have to go through your homeowners first, and then whatever is remaining, you can file a claim with the surge protector company. They all work like this.
So the
Now,
Trip
with
Light,
Seco, I will tell you this with Seco, I probably didn't tell you this, but their warranty is mainly for anything that doesn't have a circuit, have an electronic circuit chip in it. So like you want, which includes almost anything, I would think these days, right? So if it has an electronic circuit chip in it, their their warranty does not cover it. And the reason is because the type of surges that come from the power utility are so large in magnitude that its internal design is slightly different than the surge protectors that you would have installed at your circuit breaker panel or a power strip or anything. It's mainly there to either block or greatly reduce that huge surge that's coming from the power utility to a point where the rest of the surge protectors in your house have a chance to block it. Okay, so therefore it doesn't bring the surge, it's not guaranteed to bring the surge down to a point where electronic equipment would survive. Okay, that's why you have this latest approach. And I will tell you another thing too is Leviton did a study a couple of years ago to try and figure out what percentage of surges come from the power utility versus any other point of entry. And their results of their analysis was that the surges coming from the power utility are about 20% of the time, which means very rare. And 80% of the time, it comes from everywhere else. So we recommend getting both anyway. Getting the Seco protector and also getting the surge protector at the circuit breaker panel, and you can either have your favorite electrician install it, or contact Pikes Electric or Lenhart Electric. We've dealt with them, and they install the right equipment, and then you can go and get, like, it's great that they gave you that Trip Light. Trip Light's excellent company, and they have the best surge protection. Unfortunately, it's the most expensive, but it's still a good device.
Here's another example of Trip Light. When we have a nearby lightning strike, the garage doors openers get fried, and this is what you need to have plugged in if that's your concern.
Or the other thing is if you have that whole house surge protector and the circuit breaker panel, should protect the garage as well. But but if you really want to go crazy, you can add these things. You can add them on top of it. It's just the more you have, the greater the chances that you'll have no damage.
Clarification. Have you told us, though, that we really need, in addition to the whole house surge protector that the electric company puts in, and even though you use point of service surge protectors in the house for your electronics, you still should have another layer of surge protection in your electrical distribution panel?
That's correct. Because what happens is, remember I said it's a layered approach, right? So if the surge comes in through the power utility, then the surge protector at the electrical panel will knock it down even further. Now that insurance on that one that they provide will protect, will cover devices that have electronic circuit chip in it up to a certain amount, which signifies that their surge protector, and I happen to know the internal circuitry is different to knock it down. Yeah, so you need the three of them. You need the three, type 1, type 2, and type 3. Especially here in Florida. If you live in other places in the United States, maybe not so, but since we get so much lightning, I mean, you have to look at it this way. Every time we have a bad lightning storm, rainstorm, you see lightning hitting every place. If lightning is hitting near somebody's house, it's not if they're getting a surge, they are getting a surge. It's just not a spectacular fire and stuff, so you don't see it publicized in the newspaper because it's not spectacular damage. But you hear about it all the time at dinner parties and talking to people that their house got blown out, pool equipment, you name it, from a bad lightning storm.
Thanks.
I'm going to jump in for just a second. Another fun-filled fact here, 1.2 million lightning strikes per year in Florida, with the vast majority of those lightning strikes happening between Tampa and Titusville.
Yeah.
So we're right in the strike zone of a lot of lightning. I also wanted to let you know, here in Legacy of Leesburg, our community, we have had some instances of lightning caused damages. Joyce had Joyce, and I'm probably going to get her last name pronounced incorrectly, Mitten. I'm going to go with it. She had actually found this article in the Villages, some sort of website, and she got in touch with Larry Crook and myself, saying, "Hey, this could be a topic that would be good to kind of have a presentation on." So that's how this whole thing happened with today's presentation. But I had asked our community if they had any examples of lightning damage here in our community. She wrote me back. Our neighbor Eric Soapman had 2 palm trees in his front yard hit by lightning. It killed all the electric in his truck, and it had to be scrapped. So the truck was toast, literally. The truck was in the driveway near the palms. Also, he had problems in the house, fried his TV and other stuff. Don't know all the details, but he had to have the trees removed as the lightning killed them, and he had to get a new car. Also, she goes on to say, I also think that the Legacy back gate, because we have 2 entrances in our community, the back gate was hit by lightning twice, and somewhere in the pool area also got hit. So that is at least some examples. I also know that here on my street, just 4 or 5 houses away from us, a lightning strike, don't think it hit the house, don't know for sure, but it hit very closely by in the yard, or maybe one of their trees in their yard, and it wiped out most of their electronic gear. So lightning protection could be something that, I mean, looking at the cost that Len had up there, I realized those prices have risen since that, but it might be worth investigating. And I do know that Larry had spoken to Frank D'Angelo about lightning protection system, and he did bring up the con of lightning protection system would be the cost, and when you get your roof reshingled, that you're going to have a licensed, certified installer come out, deinstall the equipment, like I believe was Len was saying. Once the roof is done, the city and whomever has to come in and look at it, put their stamp on the building permit, and then the lightning protection system would have to be reinstalled again by a certified technician company.
Can I just jump in there for a second?
Yes, please. Thanks, John.
Yeah, so anyway, that's the reason when you go get a lightning protection system, they're going to give you a choice of copper or aluminum wiring. If you use the copper, they can reuse it. If you do aluminum, they can't reuse it. So it may be a cheaper upfront cost for the aluminum, but long term, it may be an increase in cost. And then the other thing too is that traditionally, so you guys aren't in the villages, but for a typical village's house, that's maybe anywhere from 2,000 to 3,000 square feet or 2,500 square feet. It costs between $3,000 and $3,500 to have one of these systems installed. And it depends on how many peaks you have, how big your roof is, things like that. But that's the rough estimate. You know, if you have a large house, obviously it's going to be way more expensive. The amount of money to take the system off, I think, is anywhere from $100 to $200 to take the system off. If like the lightning protection, like say you go with the A1 or Triangle, which is the two companies that we know that are LPI certified. I think it's something in that range to take the system off and then to put it back on. I'm not exactly sure how much, but it's maybe a little bit more, but it's not the entire cost of doing it from scratch, because you don't have to change the ground rods. The ground rods are in the ground. They don't change. You don't have to change the down leaders from the roof to the ground rods. It's basically putting the air terminals back and the cabling. So it's not like reinstalling a whole new system. So if you have to, my suggestion is if you know your roof is like really, really old and you're going to replace it in a year or two, replace the roof first. Okay. If it's middle-aged or new, then you go ahead and get a system, you know, because you probably don't have to change your roof until every 15 years or so anyway, right? So that's I just wanted to add that to your comment.
I do have a question there, John, and Len and Scott. Okay, so trees. Do lightning rods get placed up in trees to help route lightning from the house?
They do. In fact, in NFPA, there is a whole section on protecting trees, but I don't know of anybody that's done it. I've only seen it up, I forget now, up in somewhere in Marion County. I saw it, but it's very rare to do trees. I don't know anybody that's done any here.
You know, as you said, lightning can hit a tree, but we've had like many documented cases where houses were hit and burnt to the ground without a lightning protection system, and they had towering trees either in front and the side and the back, and the lightning did not hit the tree, but hit the house instead. You know, I guess if you have a very special tree and you don't want it to die, you could put a system in, but I don't really know of anybody doing that.
Last summer, a house 900 feet from where we are right now was struck and destroyed. It had queen palms all around it. The queen palms are still living, in spite of 80-foot flames going up when that roof was burned down. So they survived. So,
wow.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I've got one question, if you don't mind, Brian, on how does insurance recognize this, or they encourage it, or does it make any difference to them?
We've gone down that route. There's a lot of history to that, but Anyway, there's only a very few that give a token credit because the homeowners insurers in this state are worried about one thing. That's the catastrophic hurricane risk. So a few houses burning down due to lightning unfortunately doesn't bother them that much.
See, this is what you have to understand, right? To the insurance company, like Glenn said, a couple of houses here and there, like we had 6 here in the villages last year. It's not even a blip on their radar. But to the homeowner, it's a life-changing event, right? If your house is hit by lightning and burns to the ground, your life isn't going to be the same anymore, besides the rebuilding and everything else that's going on. So for you, it's a big deal. For the insurance company, it's not. But I did sign up with a new insurance company this year that did give me a discount on whole house surge protection. Wasn't a lot, but it was a sort of a token thing. But they did ask me if I had whole house surge protection, and I did, and I proved it, and they gave me a discount.
And just to add to Larry's question, the neighborhoods really suffer when a house is burned out by lightning because the insurance companies, for some reason, are not really super gung ho in getting the house cleaned out, rebuilt. They'll argue and complain about, the different areas of the house that may not have been affected by the fire, that could have been affected by the water damage. Keep in mind that most of the time when there's a lightning strike on a house and catches on fire, it opens up the roof, burns through the roof pretty quickly, and it's usually pouring rain at the time. So the whole house gets water damage, whether it's from a fire hose or from the rainstorm that the lightning strike was part of. And if you drive around the villages and you look at some of the houses, as Lenny was pointing out, the one from last year's hasn't even been cleaned up yet. So as homeowners in the neighborhoods, you really don't want to see a house get struck by lightning and burned down because it's going to be an eyesore. And if you were getting ready to plan on selling your house, that may be the thing that keeps a lot of buyers from coming and even making an offer on your house. So from a neighborhood standpoint, you can't force everybody to get them, but if everybody's house was protected by lightning rods, the chances of having one burned down would be a neighborhood eyesore for a year, 2 years. And the fact that you have to live in a hotel or you got to go rent a house for a year or 2 years before you can move back in. And in a lot of cases, I've read in on some of the ones in the last 3 or 4 years since I've been here, the owners of the homes, they just sell the house to the insurance company. The insurance company then levels it and resells the lot, and somebody comes along and builds a new house. So it's the neighborhoods that suffer just as much as the homeowner that took the hit and had their house burned down. You have to live through that. You have to go through all the inconvenience of all your stuff being consumed or damaged by the water or damaged by the soot and the smoke and the flames. There's a lot to it that for $3,000 or $4,000, most people would not bat an eyelash at spending $3,000 or $4,000 to go on a cruise, but they do bat an eyelash about putting lightning protection on their house. And for the cost of one cruise, we like to say you can protect your house with lightning protection, plus a good surge protector on the house, and all of the point of service stuff for the things that you value, your 85-inch TV, your laptop where you plug it into the wall, all those things. $4,000 price of a cruise, you could save yourself so much aggravation that you don't even know that you're in line for if that one day there's a lightning storm and it pours down rain and your house gets destroyed. You're not expecting it to happen. There's nothing you can do to prevent it from happening other than do some of the things that we're suggesting. So neighborhood damage goes along right with when a house gets burned down because of lightning. It just stays that way, seems like forever until it gets, rebuilt. And it's just something to consider.
Okay, any other questions?
I do just want to let our community folks know that there are no restrictions on lightning protection system, lightning rods. In the ARC rules about how we maintain our properties, there's no restrictions about it. So if that was something I thought that there was a restriction, but I'm better educated now. So
I think Alice had a question.
Yes,
Yeah, hey,
I
Alice.
did. I want to go back to Benjamin Franklin days and also when we were up north and even here. They did install, at least the builders, and even here, they did install some kind of a lightning rod system from the roof down into the ground. And it was a copper wire that was held on by this, uh, it almost looked like one of those rods that you put under the cement, but it wasn't that. And they shoved it down into the ground. Now, it's gone, but were those effective at all? The old systems before they had made all the rules and regulations?
That wasn't a lightning protection system. That was the grounding of your electrical system. So all
Oh, so
electrical
that was
systems have
not
a ground
anything to,
rod.
oh, okay.
All electrical systems have to have a local ground. So they drive a ground rod near your electrical box outside, and then there's a wire like in a lightning protection system that is connected to the ground of your circuit breaker panel.
So that has nothing to do with frying your electric system? It wouldn't stop it?
No.
So you really need, besides the ones
That's,
in
that's
house,
to
you
prevent
really
you from,
need the
it's to
roof, you
prevent you
need,
from getting electrocuted is what it is, that ground.
oh,
So,
okay, well, that's good.
yeah.
Okay, so we still need the stuff on the roof. We still need the electrical box in the garage. And you still need those other three.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I think we need to talk about this a second because people who are interested in getting this stuff done, when you leave this call, what you're going to say to yourself, well, who do I call? Right? I mean, where do these people live again?
Leesburg.
Leesburg. So again, you can get your most favorite electrician if you like, but call Pikes or Lenhart Electric. Okay, they're in the yellow pages, and just say that you had this presentation with the Villages Lightning Study Group, and that you're interested in a whole house surge protection, and they'll be able to give you estimate on everything. Because again, the only reason why we bring up these two companies because they've been very active in the villages, and we know what they're installing, so we can tell you to go there, and you can decide who you want to get. As far as lightning rods, the lightning protection system, as Len said, there's two companies that we know that are operating in the area that are LPI certified, and that's A1 Lightning Protection. It's A1.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
It's A1. Brian has the names and telephone numbers in an email. You remember that, Brian?
Yeah, I don't have that email up. I know that you had mentioned because I had mentioned two different options that were certified by the Lightning Protection Institute.
Right.
The ones I came up with that were on their certified members list was McLean. That's MC.
Yeah, I have it
LEAN.
here. I cannot find a UL listing for them. For
Okay.
Taylor, yes, I do, but Taylor has an address of in Texas. I
Ah.
didn't. That's where they're saying. So
Oh.
I don't know if they're working in this area or not. If they have anybody
Yeah.
working.
Well, Len, can you
How
do
did
me
you
a
come up with those two?
I went to the Lightning Protection Institute's website,
Okay.
and they have a directory of their
Yeah, that's right.
certified people.
That's the right place to go to find if they're master installers. But when I went on the UL site, I could not find McLean. Now maybe they do, and I just missed it, or
Yeah.
go by another name. But that's
Len,
okay.
when we get off the Zoom call, if you could maybe shoot me any contact information for the guy for the two companies that you have, I will disperse that information here at Legacy of Leesburg.
And the reason why it's so important is because there's a lot of companies that are reputable, but maybe not be trained properly, and they install systems. And the reason why you have to go to Lightning Protection Institute because only those companies will install it the same way. Like if you go to A1 Lightning Protection or Triangle Lightning Protection or maybe this McLean, fairly certain that that the installation will be almost identical. Okay. And that's what's important, because if the ground rods are not working properly or driven down deep enough, or the air terminals are not placed properly, the system's not going to work. Okay. So that's what you have to do. And when you get the estimate, you have to read carefully the estimate, because some may be more than others, because maybe they're driving the ground rods down 20 feet instead of 10. And it's fine at 10 feet, but you have to look and see the differences. There may be some slight differences. Obviously deeper is better, but if you don't have the money and, it's better to have a system with 10-foot ground rods than 20, for instance. So it's things like that. Just compare the apples to apples estimate of exactly what they're going to install.
And understand right now, these folks are very busy, particularly since we had the fire here in May. Of course, this is all involves risk, and everybody has to make their own determination of what level of risk they're going to be able to accept. So what we're giving here is the best information we know from the experts on lightning, and so you need to do your own due diligence as well, and hopefully this sets you on your way to do your due diligence in your own individual cases.
Hey,
And
Tony.
Brian, one
Oh, there you
interesting
are.
point, Brian, in case you have any contacts with the people that are renovating your community center, you might want to just ask them if it didn't have lightning protection, are they considering adding lightning protection to it? Because wouldn't it be a shame if your brand new, all cleaned up, $2.6 million renovation could be lost in literally an hour if it got hit by lightning and it doesn't have a $4,000 lightning protection system or $10,000. Small price to pay, big investment that they're making. I'll bet you 10 to 1 that they probably didn't think about it. But if somebody brings it to their attention, it can always be added. And for a couple $1,000, maybe well worth it, so that the community doesn't lose a golden asset, which, I'm sure you guys really appreciate having that building available to you. And when you don't have it, you got to kind of work around it. So it's something to think about.
That's great, Scott. Thank you for bringing that to light. And I'm sure Ed, he's all about this community, and he might have an inroad to talk to the powers that be. Tony, did you have a question? I saw that you were talking, but I got to tell you, we're not hearing anything. Are you unmuted?
Hit the space bar.
Nope, nothing happening. We can see you're trying to talk, but
How about now?
oh, there it is.
Okay. Listen, I have this question. I think it's more of a clarification. If you have an LPS system on your home, properly installed, everything, and lightning does hit a tree next to your house, that happened right up the street from Alice and I a couple of years ago. Hit a palm tree on the corner of the guy's house. So your house is protected if it gets hit. If the tree gets hit, is there any possibility of the residual surge from that damaging something because it didn't actually hit the house?
Yes, that's the whole idea of induced surge. So when that lightning hits the tree or hits the ground or hits anything near your house, you get an induced surge which travels through the air and will couple onto the home's electrical system, causing damage. That's why you need surge protection.
Okay.
This happens all the time. I mean, like you were saying before, you just don't hear about it. But as I said before, every time you see a lightning strike, if it's near a house, it's not if they're getting an induced surge, they are getting an induced surge. And depending if they have surge protection or not will depend on how much damage they get.
Okay, thanks.
Well, do we have any other questions? Now's the time to ask.
Well, you can always get in touch with me later if you have other questions. And from what I understand, Brian, you want me to send the names of the lightning protection system firms and the two electrical contractors?
Yes, whatever information you can send our way and any contact information for those companies, that would be wonderful, Len. I mean, I'm quite interested personally. You know,
I can tell.
I'm taking to heart what Scott's saying, man. You just don't know the misery you're going to suffer.
Yeah.
I can tell you firsthand that as of today, it just expired as of 7/1, but Pikes Electric had the surge protection that we recommend, which is one of two kinds. The one I picked was the Eaton Ultra, little tiny box, two green lights, goes on your panel. They just had it up until today, and probably would extend it if someone called today or this week. They have it on sale, installed completely, 5 and a quarter.
Yeah.
So
So,
$525,
right.
price of a brand new 65-inch TV, they would put that protection on your electrical panel and potentially save you all kinds of aggravation with those surges that John was talking about coming through, because that's going to really knock down any surge that would get into your house. That's your primary defense. And if it's the palm tree that gets struck by lightning next door and that thing takes the brunt of it, you'll be thrilled to be able to replace it for $525 as opposed to replacing all of your electronic stuff in your house. So
Yeah. I just want
525, they're coming Monday and they're doing mine.
The only thing I want to just tell you, I did speak to Pikes the other day, and you're right. They're willing. They're going to extend that, even though the website says today. If you call and you tell them that you saw this Villages Lightning Protection presentation, they'll extend it for you.
What company was that?
That was Pikes Electric. Pikes Electric. I think they're in Wildwood.
Yep. They do a tremendous amount of electrical work in the villages, probably in your area too. Very well known, very trustworthy, and that's why I called them.
Gee, I thought you had the surge protection already.
I have surge protection at all the points of service, UPSs, all that kind of stuff, but I didn't have the surge protection in the house. And I saw that ad when we did the presentation last week. I saw the ad for it, and I said, you know what? I'm going to drop the hammer, and I'm going to get this before I take a surge, and then I have to tell John all the things in my house that burned out because I took the surge.
All right.
Okay.
Hey, Brian, can you hear me?
Yeah. Hey, Tony.
Hey, listen, can you get the name they just mentioned? What is it called? Height?
Pike.
Pike, P-I-K-E.
Yeah.
Oh, Pike.
Pikes Electric. Pikes Electric. Or
Okay.
Lenhart Electric. They're both in the area.
Okay. Thanks. Thanks, guys. I really enjoyed this. Very informative.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everybody. We appreciate that you took your time this afternoon, both for John and Len and Scott and the participants. I wish there would have been more. Hopefully, they'll watch it on YouTube. But I'll send you an email, or you send me an email. We'll get the information for these companies and stuff like that, and I will get that distributed. Okay. So.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Thank you,
Too,
everybody.
Brian. Thank you.
All right, y'all take care.
Thank you,
people.
Brian.
Appreciate it.
Good night.